The first technical New York stage that are based in Tekken is, well, get used to Paul because he has a lot of these. So with Tekken 2, the first New York stage belongs to Paul Phoenix. And we're basically in the middle of some kind of platform that is between the East River, and you'll basically notice a couple of interesting details. In the middle of the platform, you see a bunch of stars, the American Eagle with the United States logo, or in this case, the flag emblem is the form of a shield, Manhattan in the background, and, well, if you look around it, there's the Statue of Liberty, the Twin Towers, and yeah, this game took place before a lot of things have happened, so just FYI. Like, this game took place a long time ago. This is a 90s game, like a 90s PlayStation 1 game. So, in case you're wondering why that's there, this is again a game that debuted in the 90s, like mid-90s. So, just so you know. I really like this stage. Not really crazy about the music though, but I do like it a lot though. It's a nice setting. It's a nice sunset that you see around, and I generally think it's a pretty cool looking stage. And yeah, I like the fact that there's a lot of there's already like a lot that can instantly tell you, oh yeah, as if it wasn't enough that you're in New York. Like literally, this is a really cool stage. I really do like this one, but not a really big fan of the music though.
In Tekken 3, Paul once again has another New York-based stage. And what you can tell from here is that there's literally in the streets. There's train tracks above the fighters, there's stores, there's buildings, billboards, graffiti art. One of them that basically points out like 2 blue exit signs and a pink bunny. The Soul Edge graffiti that literally starts the Soul Calibur series, Soul Edge being the first game. And yeah, I really do like this a lot more than Tekken 2, at least like the music. I do like that this is something you definitely see in like Queens, Manhattan, Brooklyn, and some parts of Manhattan, depending on where you may be. This is ironically more, I want to say, more realistic as a stage in New York compared to the second one. Now, don't get me wrong, I like that one as well. But if we're basically going with something like, oh yeah, this is totally something you would see in Tekken and IRL, Paul's stage on this one definitely takes the cake. However, in an interesting, graphical buff for this stage actually also gets added into Tekken Tag Tournament 1, or at least it gets a higher evolutionary update with Tekken Tag Tournament with both arcade and the PlayStation 2 version. So here, the train tracks are a little bit more higher, there's more buildings, there's more billboards, there's more poster signs, more gates, which is interesting enough that you'll see all around in the stage. You see a bunch of people watching the fighters go at it, and there's literally grass growing on the floor. Like legit, this is something that I definitely would see at best. You'd be seeing people fight in Queens, if any. Like this is straight up a stage you would see in Queens. There's also like a couple of like garbage downstairs, people just looking in the background. I gotta say, if someone was asking me, oh hey, which out of the two do I like the most? If it had to basically be Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag Tournament 1 for this one, it would basically be Tag 1. However, I love both equally, so I do like them all. And yes, I do like the stage music for both. So yeah, that's basically it for Paul having his own stage, because we're going from Tag 1 to Tag 2. Yeah, we're skipping a lot of games. And I'll explain at the end why. But anyway, as you can pretty much tell, the Statue of Liberty smuckering her lips and the fact that she's holding an ice cream cone and a popcorn bucket, the stage is called Electro Parade. Interesting enough, I like to believe that this is literally referring to the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, which they do around every Thanksgiving or around every Thanksgiving Eve, in which they have balloons, festivities, and it takes place in Herald Square next to the Macy's flagship store that's located at 34th Street. And there's a breakable wall interaction where if you basically were able to go to the other side of the stage in the balcony, you'll notice like you're inside of a building that has unique chandeliers, a very unique, I like to call it a sophisticated setting. But yeah, this stage is pretty neat. I do like the music though.
So before I go more further to the last stage that is very much a New York NYC based stage, I did try to take some time into looking into other stages after Tekken 3, and okay, Urban Jungle from Tekken 5 technically doesn't have one, but its DR version in a way is kind of. Now, why do I say the word kind of? Well, from somewhat of a bit of a background here, I really couldn't find any good pictures or anywhere else online to really describe anything around it, but from a very small distance, if you're able to take at least a good look into it, it does look like something like you would say the Chrysler Building or the Empire State Building. And if I'm perfectly being honest, this probably is somewhere between mid to Brooklyn or to Manhattan. Now, keep this in mind. This is not 100% something that I consider to be a New York-based stage because, again, there's a lot of places that can instantly have this, and this could be somewhere else than the United States. But I wanted to put this in here because I feel like some people might tell me, oh, wait, what about this? You didn't look into this. Well, I did, and I'm going by based on what I can observe. So I wanted to take the time to look into it. Then, of course, there's Crimson Sunset, and then, of course, the other stage, or rather, its DR version known as City Lights. Now, this I can at least say that this is sort of New York also as well. I mean, from the background, it looks like you could see, like, you know, kind of like the other boroughs and the other islands and stuff like that. But this is, again, one of those, okay, it could, but there's only one thing that's missing here, the Statue of Liberty. Because usually, even with Tekken 2, like, there was always a Statue of Liberty present. And here, I'm not gonna lie, I was given, like, a lot of notes to say, like, hey, check this out and take a look at it. Because on one hand, you see a bunch of, like, neon signs and, you know, a bunch of things that look very reminiscent of Times Square. But I could still honestly say, up to at least, I think, up to, like, Tekken 7 or 8, they decided to just kind of like do their own, I would say, their in-lore or in-game kind of stages. Meaning, they would make stages that look very eerily similar, but not exactly what that is. And with City Lights, Crimson Sunset, and both versions of Urban Jungle, I at least can say there is a little influence of New York around it. But I'm not going to 100% say, oh, it's directly a New York stage. If anything, these stages here from Tekken 5 are more or less references to New York itself, if that makes sense. And finally, we have Urban Square. Literally just Times Square, but remove the times and replace it with urban. I honestly like this stage a lot, and I actually did mention this in my top New York-based stages. And honestly, this one really hits a little bit home because they got actually everything right with this. They got the way that it looks, the detail, there's a statue of Leroy, and of course, literally the music is pretty good. I like the music for when I was able to play the beta for Tekken 8. And as you may have noticed, the Karate Kid Legends advertisements are all around. So, similar to what they did with Nike, whenever there's like an advertisement or sponsor Tekken 8 pretty much has going on, this is something that you'll definitely be seeing a lot. But outside of the, you know, sponsored ads, you'll also see stuff like, you know, ads for Azucena's coffee shop or, you know, her coffee brand. And of course, the, I'd say Red Rose Vermilion play and a lot of other things that comes to mind. But what I really like about this stage is, honestly, it gets pretty much right into detail of legit it being literally Times Square. Especially for the fact that there's like a crowd of people watching you and your opponent fight. And then if you're able to see, well, the staircase that you see for people buying Broadway tickets upon there. Then there's like the Wall Street type building over there. The literal New York bus stop that's like right in the corner next to a police car. They really managed to get this extremely, and if anything, accurately well. I honestly think this is probably one of the better stages for Tekken that truly gets the, yeah, like, if you really want to think of New York and you want to play it in a Tekken game, this is legit the perfect one. And then there's the second variation called Urban Square Evening. Literally, the music stay remains the same, and it also still keeps the whole, well, the advertisements still in there. But the only genuine difference is that here you would definitely see a bit of a difference of the lighting, where it's like very close to a little small evening type setting, more or less like sunset kind of just, kicking in and everywhere else. But once you get to round 3, regardless of whoever's winning, or basically once you get to round 3, it starts snowing. I feel like, if anything, this must be the winter variation. Something that Tekken 5 kind of does when it comes to their stages. Where, say, for example, the Garden of the Dragon, you see Garden of the Tiger, instead of like it being on daytime, instead it's more or less like rainy. So in this case, for this stage in particular, for Urban Square Evening is pretty much a different version of the stage, where at one point in round 3, it starts snowing. There's not that many people compared to its daytime version, but I do like that legit it does well into capturing the New York vibes, as legit all the seasons kind of kick in. As you can see, by the time round 3 kicks in, you see little bits of snow falling down. Not that many people are standing in the background, and of course it literally does showcase the nighttime aspect. Truthfully, I gotta hand it to Tekken for honestly creating the most accurate New York stage I've ever seen in fighting games, and probably my favorite one out of all of them as well. So yeah, I also want to thank Sparkrider and also my old friend Codex Systems for both playing Paul Phoenix and of course Reina while making this part of the video. And with that, that is all of the New York-based stages in the world of Tekken. And this is probably going to be the very last video of the all New York-based stages, because to be quite honest, there's a lot of other stages that are based in New York. But if I ever do get around to, I would say, the other games that I have not covered, I probably might just do a big giant video of like the remaining stuff that I didn't cover. But that's probably gonna take me some time. But why did I say it's the last one? Well, it's gonna be the last of it being a franchise-specific kind of variety. But until then, this is Shockbrawler, signing out. See y'all!